Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. It always still goes by too fast. I mean, it's 3 days and it seems like it's gone as soon as it starts. So, hopefully, everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend and maybe got out and played a little golf. I know I did, and it wasn't good. But anyway, it's not a big deal. My game is in a rough spot at the moment, but I'll hopefully figure it out. It seems like you always do when it comes to golf. So. Before we get into it today, just want to let you know today's episode brought to you by Titleist Golf, and nothing will do more to improve your driver performance than getting fit by an authorized Titleist fitting specialist. With outstanding featured shafts and premium partnership with Graphite Design, they have the tools to get your game dialed in. So visit Titleist.com to learn more about TSI drivers and schedule a fitting today. And I didn't do a driver fitting. I didn't do a TS, when I did mine, TSI hadn't quite released yet, but I did one of the Titleist Thursday fittings with one of their specialists with my wedges, and it was actually really cool. It was fun. Got to hit a ton of different clubs. The person had every grind, all that, so it was fun to get out there on real grass, hit these different clubs, see what worked best, having somebody there kind of explaining, what we're seeing and why we're seeing it and all that, so it was pretty cool. So like I said, go to Titleist.com, schedule your fitting today. I mean, we all know the best way to gain some distance and all that is through a fitting. So, if you haven't done that, check it out. And today I played a little golf this weekend. Played with my dad. Played with a gentleman who we were down at the old Bella Vista down in Coldwater, Michigan, and my kind of home course, as I'll call it. And had fun. Played with my dad. We had a good time. It was cold. If you follow me on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod, you'd see that in my Instagram story, we I basically put the thing up. It was like 38 degrees or something like that. So it was kind of stupid cold, but it was all good. We had a good time. We had some fun. So it was a good time. I played terrible, like literally absolutely terrible. And it was, it was, but it was all right. Like, I'm getting better in my old age of playing terrible. It was a long day yesterday. Coming back from a holiday is always long, so it was just one of those long days I didn't record at night like I usually do on a Tuesday because it didn't feel like a Tuesday, kind of felt like a Monday. But like I said, literally got a text right now, so that's really awesome. I'm super excited. And like I said, excited for them. But anyway, so I went out and played, and like I said, I played with my dad. And in my old age, I'm getting better with playing not so well golf. There used to be a time when I'd play bad, and I just would like lose my mind. I would like throw clubs. I would break clubs. There was a time when I was like probably like 20, my early 20s, where I literally brought extra shafts and like old wedges and stuff like that, and I would just break them over my knee when I played poorly. Which, if you're going to bring an extra club in your bag to break, you're probably going to play poorly at some point. So I used to have a couple putters in my rotation, and when I break one, I'd put the next one in in the bag, and then while the other one was being reshafted or whatever, I would play the different putter. And it just it was one of those things where I just it's just kind of a destructive thing. It wasn't great. Nobody wants to play with that guy. And yeah, so it was one of those things that as I've gotten older, I haven't broke a club. So the funny story, so the whole reason I didn't stop breaking clubs was I realized it was getting kind of expensive to, buy new shafts and reshaft them, and steel putter shafts aren't crazy expensive, but they do add up after you're breaking multiples and multiples over a month span or season, whatever. So that was actually how I got my first Scotty Cameron. I bought a Mid-Sur, Pro Platinum Mid-Sur belly putter, and it cost me $300 or whatever the price of the thing was, and that was the last shaft I broke like over my knee. So it was I just went out and I said, well, if I'm gonna stop doing it, let's go buy a really expensive putter, and then I won't break that putter, I won't throw it or whatever. And that was kind of the end of it. And up until recently, I've still kind of like thrown a wedge at the bag or whatever, but it's definitely greatly reduced. And I think, like I said, I think the biggest thing is anybody who you play with probably appreciates you not acting like a psycho. So I've gotten a lot better, but I played probably one of the worst rounds I've played in 10 years. I literally just, there's nothing, I think I putted okay. If you look at my putting, I think I putted okay. The rest of the round, there was absolutely nothing that I did well. And even I think it was like the 14th hole, my dad was like, I have never seen you play this bad. And my dad beat me by 6, which I don't think he's beat me in quite a few years. So it was just all around a bad round. But it was fun because, like I said, I was playing my dad. You know, I was watching him play well. He was hitting driver great, so it was kind of fun to see him just kind of pounding fairways. And his score didn't show that he played he played a lot better than his score was. But but like I said, it was still fun. I still enjoyed the morning and getting out and playing. So we won't talk about my score. We just want to talk. Let's just say I had 3 8s and a 10 on the card. So you can kind of make your assumptions of where that number was. But it was fun. Like I said, it was a good time. But I have been hitting, and I know I've told you guys I've been hitting a club or a wedge or whatever that I can't really talk about until now, and that is true. And the reason being was I was embargo until yesterday. So today I can talk about finally the new, which you've now seen probably online, the Cleveland RTX ZipCore Full-Face wedge, which they just released. So basically, that's their Cleveland's version of going kind of the higher toe, full face grooves, kind of that wedge built for hitting high lofted shots and being forgiving on some of those high lofted shots. But they kind of marketed as a flop shot machine, which is kind of cool. And honestly, that's why I put it in the bag. But it's actually a really good looking wedge. I mean, the RTX ZipCore, I think, has been one of those wedges that I think if you've had a chance to hit them, has been really good this year. Probably one of the, I would say in the top couple wedges, if you were making a ranking of, top wedges this year, I don't think you could really get away from, the RTX ZipCore. It's just been phenomenal. I think the spin is amazing. I've been playing a RTX ZipCore in my 60, just a standard one, up until I got this. And I've really liked it. Like I said, I think the spin is absolutely phenomenal. I think it's one of the highest spinning wedges of the year. And it's just been, it feels good. It's an all-around great wedge. The shape, I think, Cleveland kind of nailed the shape. I mean, everything about it, has turned out to be really good, really good, really good. So, basically the full face is kind of like that higher toe design. So when you set it down, the toe of the wedge, the very top of it kind of comes out farther. And it has kind of a I guess, longer from front to back size to it. The overall profile when you set it down is still pretty compact. I mean, it's a little bigger than a ZipCore in terms of when looking it down, and I think most of that is just the full face grooves give it that look. But it has a little larger footprint when you set it down. But overall, the shape is pretty compact. The leading edge is pretty square and pretty straight. Like, it's not crazy rounded like I thought it would be. With a lot of times with some of these kind of higher toe, like the Callaway PM grind and things like that, they get really rounded on the front, which is basically there to help when you open the face up, kind of hit those open face shots. But this one's actually pretty square, and this is a 58 that I bent to 60. But it's a pretty square leading edge, which is nice. Very minimal offset, and like I said, the high toe profile where they move a little more mass and everything up near the toe. And the reason they do that is a lot of these wedges are used for open face shots, and typically your miss with an open face shot is out towards the toe and higher. And, if the ball's sitting up in the rough or, out of the trap or whatever, the miss tends to be up and out most of the time. So when you make this high toe design and, you're able to move a little more mass up there, and those shots tend to be a little more forgiving. They hold a little more spin, they carry a little farther, and they just typically perform better than a standard wedge. And I've put into play, I've played the TaylorMade high toe, played the Cleveland PM grinds, I played the Wilson high toe version. So I played a handful of these, and they do work. I mean, it is, I think they do work. When you catch it a little high off the toe, like that miss, that ball does. It carries a little more spin. It gets onto the green. It doesn't penalize you as much as a standard wedge. And overall, I think, consistency with those shots, it definitely improves. So when you open the face, or when I open the face and play it, I don't have to worry as much about being so precise, and it does work. So this one here, I mean, it's got the same feel as the RTX ZipCores, really soft at impact. Even high in the face, you get a little more click, but it's nothing too harsh. it does kind of give you that little bit of responsiveness that you hit it high off the toe, and it gets out there and goes. But yeah, I mean the biggest, like I said, with that hitting that shot high and off the toe, like if you have to carry a bunker, which is kind of what these are designed for, you're kind of short-sighted, you got to carry a bunker, get it on the green, get it up fast. That shot, when you hit it off the toe on a standard wedge, comes out with 0 spin. It typically comes out kind of dead, and it falls into the trap. This one here, it gets it onto the green, so you at least have a putt a putt instead of a bunker shot. But the versatility is really good. The sole grind on all these, which they're making 56 through 64, so I think it's 56, 58, 60, 64. Let me just make sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what they're making on these. Yeah, 56, 58, 60, 64. So I know in the Golf to BRX forums, a lot of guys were asking about the 64 because they really wanted to see that. They are making a 64 in this, which is pretty cool. This is the tour rack version, which is raw. I sprayed a little Rusty 2000 on here, courtesy of the old Wedge Wizard, to get it started because it was standing out next to the rest of my raw clubs that it was looking a little too new. But then the rest of it is I started just a little bit of it, and then the rest has been just kind of patina playing it, which has been pretty cool. But anyway, open face shots, super easy. The sole design on these, they're all done with basically a C grind. So there's some heel relief, little trailing edge relief, and some toe relief. And basically that is so you can open the face up. It doesn't lift the leading edge. As you open the face, it doesn't raise the leading edge a ton. So you're not thinking you're going to blade the ball. But it still offers a little bit of bounce there. So when you play it out of a bunker or some soft conditions out of the rough, you still have some bounce there to use. But overall, I mean, opening it up and hitting higher lofted shots is super simple. It definitely is versatile in that way. But honestly, playing it square at the target is super easy as well. And I think that's a bow to that leading edge being really straight. That was the one issue I always had with the PM grinds. I thought the PM grind was phenomenal. It was super easy to hit high lofted shots, open the face, just flop it up there. But I always had a problem hitting square shots. If the club was square to the target, I wasn't, opening it or closing it or anything. I never really felt comfortable with aligning it. So the RTX ZipCore Full-Face definitely has that going for it. And I thought, playing it as a standard wedge, playing it square, super easy to do. If you want to, if you need to open it up and play it higher lofted, that's what it's designed to do. So whether it's off a really tight fairway lie or it's something out of the rough, it's like I said, either way, you're going to have a lot of confidence hitting that shot, or at least I did. The launch on it is fairly high. Even with square shots, I would say it goes a little higher. Square shot to square shot to the ZipCore. The ZipCore launches to me a little bit lower than this. But again, that is this adds a little forgiveness as well. So I think, like I said, launches a little higher. So if, especially if you're looking at maybe the 56 and you play a lot of full shots with that, I think that 56 would launch a little higher for me. But like I said, I took the 58. I bent it to 60, which actually worked out really well because every one of them has 9 degrees of bounce. And 9 degrees of bounce is okay in a 60 for me. I've played a handful of them. It's not bad, especially in the summer when things are a little firmer, a little drier. But taking a 58, bending it to 60, and then having 11 degrees of bounce, I think actually works perfect for me. So it's actually worked out really well. And then also, anytime you bend anything weak, you take out a little bit of offset, which in this thing, there's definitely not much offset to it. Right out of the box, it was pretty much zero offset or very, very minimal. If anything, I would say maybe a slight bit if you look at kind of where the hosel and the front of the club or the leading edge kind of meet. But yeah, I've been playing this thing for like I said, about a couple weeks now, and to be honest, it's been really good. I've really enjoyed playing it. I think it's definitely something that is easier to hit open face shots with. The spin on it is really, really good. I mean, like the regular ZipCores, it's got the same grooves. They just go full face. But they spin really, really well. And whether it's, picking it off a fairway lie and really seeing some spin, or even getting it out of the rough, the biggest thing is that it's consistent. You're not going to hit a shot out of the rough that just checks up instantly, and then you're not the next one you hit and it, releases 20 feet. They're all really consistent. You hit it, it releases. For me, again, depending on the shot, if it's something right around the green, you're probably going to get 6 feet of release. I mean, depending on the rough, all that. I mean, everybody's a little different. But if you're playing it, out of some heavy rough and right around the green where you're not generating a ton of speed with the club, You get some roll out of it, some release, but like I said, it's the same every time. And excuse me, that sea grind sole has worked really well. I haven't really hit it under the bunker, to be honest, which is the funny thing. I've only hit like 1 or 2 bunker shots, but it seems to have enough float. The sand around here has been really firm. Well, it's been stupid firm at the St. Clair Shores golf course, as you saw if you saw my Instagram story with me beating a wedge into the rock hard sand, and the club not being able to penetrate the sand was unbelievable. So I did actually hit one with this out of that, and it literally, I mean, I got the ball out, but it was so stupid how hard that sand was. But out of the sand, I think this sea grind has enough float where you open it up and it's fine. Now, if you're playing super fluffy sand, like say down like Florida or something like that, where they have that really fine, like white sand, it's almost, like super fluffy, and you're a real steep player, you really struggle in the bunker, doing something like I did, where you maybe take a 58, bend it to 60, could really help. I think, getting a little bit lower bounce, you're not going to get as much float as a full sole and things like that. But again, I think, for most players, for, average angles of attack, average bunker play, it should be fine. For me, like I said, bending it open a little bit has worked great. The few bunker shots I've hit with it have been really easy, other than the one out of the rock hard bunker in St. Clair Shores. But yeah, like I said, that's that sole out of those fairway lies. The leading edge only comes up a little bit when you open it. So most players, I think, if you're looking at it and you need to hit that off a tight lie, it should be fine. I think if you go too much lower than this in terms of raising the leading edge, you're going to have very, very little bounce. But overall, it's a really good performer. It's been in my bag for the past couple weeks, ever since we received it at the office. I basically took photos and then put it in the bag. So to try, and then it really hasn't left since. And I've like I said, found it to be a really forgiving wedge without having to go to a really forgiving wedge. So you miss a shot on the toe a little bit, you miss it on the heel, you still get you still get some spin, you still get some carry, and that's, I think, a testament to having full face grooves, where you hit it on the toe a little bit and maybe you miss the groove section and things start to get really bad. But like I said, this thing has been really good, super versatile. Hitting, those lower kind of, spinning shots, just kind of hitting it low with a ton of spin. You can definitely still do that with this. Like I said, it launches a touch higher. And again, compared to, say, my Vokies, yeah, it's a little easier to hit my 56 low with some spin than this, but you can still do it. You can still flight shots, but really it wants to go high. It wants to go high over everything and drop on the green with very, very minimal rollout. So I think I really like the wedge. I think Cleveland did a great job with it. I know a lot of there were some spy shots that people got in the forum on Golf of Your X, and people were really kind of liking the design, at least from what they saw from the photos. I think now when you actually really see it, you're really going to like it. Like I said, the shape is really good. It's compact. It's not super huge. It's not crazy funky like a PM grind. It's just it's a traditional wedge with some modern kind of features to it. And the raw one's awesome, rusting up. The tour rack, I'm a huge fan of that. These things will be available. I think they start shipping like 6/11 or something like that, or that's when they're actually available. And the one I have, actually haven't even reshafted it yet, so I'm still playing with the dynamic gold spinner shaft, which is pretty good. I mean, it definitely, compared to the Modus 125 wedge shaft, it still does, I think, launch a little higher. It definitely, not quite as smooth a feel, but I think it does, I think it does add some spin, and it does add a little launch for players who need that. So it's overall a really good package. But Cleveland hit it, I think hit it out of the park with this thing. And I think a lot of you who try it are really going to like it, especially if you were kind of on the fence about, I want to try this high toe design, but a lot of them are kind of funky looking and ugly. I don't really want to put that in my bag. This one here, I think, could definitely make its way and earn your affection and love, because it does have a little more traditional look and feel to it, which is pretty nice. So if you go to clevelandgolf.com, check out the new Full-Face RTX Full-Face. It's like I said, it's really good. So I haven't stamped it or anything yet, which I usually do. So I was kind of waiting to see if it was going to stay in the bag. So I'll probably stamp it with something now. I don't know what yet, but I'll probably stamp it pretty soon. So yeah, like I said, pretty cool wedge. I'm excited. Like I said, it's still in the bag, and it's probably going to stay there for a little while. I mean, until something else knocks it out. But it'll stay there, and I've enjoyed it so far. So check that out if you're kind of on the search for a sand or lob wedge that you kind of want to go on that high toe route. Check this bad boy out. So before we get into the next item on the list, I'm gonna have three kind of items. One's kind of I think I've talked about it before, but whatever. But before I get into that, the Fujikura Ventus shaft line has been insanely good. I mean, you see it on tour everywhere. It seems like there's so many players switching into it. A ton of us amateurs are playing it as well. I've been a huge fan of Ventus. I've really been playing a lot of the black and a lot of the red lately, just because those two profiles have been fitting me really well. But it's a flagship shaft from Fujikura. Three models to choose from. So you got black as your low launch, low spin, blue being kind of mid launch, low spin, and then red being kind of we'll call it mid high launch and pretty mid low spin. So all three profiles for something for everybody, for any swing or any launch window that you're looking for. The Velo Core technology is what makes this thing, I think, so huge, which is basically a layer in the shaft, in the tip section, that adds just a ton of stability and actually adds some, quote unquote, forgiveness to the shaft, where it helps actually square it up and get the ball in the center, or repeat center contact with your club. So it's crazy how good it is. I've been playing it in driver and fairway. I know a lot of people who, when they first came out, everybody wanted black. The red has been kind of blowing up because I think it's one of those mid-high launch shafts that's just super accurate, super tight, and it really has taken a lot of guys by surprise how good that Ventus red is. But yeah, it basically kind of helps increase MOI, and then there's the three driver shafts, and then there's also two hybrid shafts, the Ventus Blue and Ventus Black HB. Blue for kind of a mid-launch and black for low launch again. So it is those are really good. I'm playing the blue in my hybrid. I had a black, which they make in 9 and 10 TX, so 90 and 100 grams. Excuse me, and that 10 TX is crazy stiff. So if you're looking for something that I need low launch, low spin, whatever my hybrid, you're not going to beat that Ventus Black 10X. That thing is crazy. But they also work in driving irons as well, which is pretty cool. So go to FujikuraGolf.com, check out the Ventus. It's, like I said, a hugely popular shaft for good reason. It's really good. So check it out when you get a chance. FujikuraGolf.com. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is going to be a product that I literally just got. As a lot of you know, our boy, I got I'm messing up. I messed with a couple little launch monitors. But I've recently, I was hitting the Rapsodo MLM, and then I also just got my hands on a Flightscope Mevo Plus. So yet another entry into the kind of personal launch monitors. And I think personal launch monitors, we're still trying to kind of figure out where that price range and where those features kind of end up, because I know it's all a little different for everybody. I know there's a lot of great options. There's the Mevo from Flightscope, and there's also the Rapsodo MLM. There's a couple options at $500, and I think there's another one from Swing Caddy as well. But a couple options at the kind of that $500 level, which are getting really good, and it's kind of crazy to see how much technology those things really have in them for $500 compared to compare to some of the big boys. I mean, we all know a TrackMan, a GC Quad. I mean, those things are over $20,000 now. So those are not obtainable to most people, myself included. I unfortunately, if my wife found out that I spent $20,000 on a launch monitor, this podcast would cease to exist, because I would cease to exist. But those are the creme de la creme, the pro level for people who are fitting every day. Players who either have that kind of money, or their game is at that level where they need that type of accuracy, detail, all that. But now we're starting to see, like I said, these personal launch monitors that are $500 and a little bit up from that give you maybe not every single piece of information that those big ones get, and maybe not the exact amount of accuracy that those ones get. But they're getting better and better every version, every software update. They really are improving. So it's pretty cool to see. I think this is one of the fastest growing sectors of golf in terms of stuff that's out there, I think this has just crazy potential of where it could go in the next couple of years. And talking to a few people in the industry, they agree. They say the way that these things are going and the way they're developing the software and the hardware, all those kind of coming together, that we're going to see in the next few years just big leaps, and you're going to see basically, say if it's 5 years, you may see something that's TrackMan GC Quad equivalent that you can buy at home for a fraction of that price. So it's pretty cool to see. Like I said, I hit the Rapsodo. I think it's really, really good for for your home use, going to the range. It gives you pretty much all the info you need. But I know there's also people out there who want spin numbers, and a lot of the $500 ones don't do spin, just because that's it's a big algorithm to figure those things out, and it's just not at that price point. So the Mevo Plus is $2,000, so it's still in the considered in the personal launch monitor space, which I think 2,000 is still an acceptable number to be in the personal launch monitor space. Don't get me wrong, $2,000 is a heck of a lot of money. A lot of people have full sets of golf clubs that don't cost $2,000. I get it, but I got this, and I got it outdoors. It's much like every other monitor. It's got an indoor and outdoor mode. I actually only hit it outdoors so far. I took it to the range a couple times and hit it outdoors. I haven't done the indoor stuff yet. I'm going to hopefully soon. I just have to set up my net and all that, and I just haven't had it in my hands long enough to get that route. And when you do indoors, you do have to have a little metallic sticker on the ball to help give those spin numbers and all that more accuracy. So the unit itself is, if you've seen the original Mevo, it's probably about twice the size, maybe a little more than that, but it's definitely a little bit bigger, but still pretty small. It'll still fit, I think, in a golf bag. If you're taking it to the range or taking it to the course or whatever, it's still, somewhat compact, compact enough where it's not going to hinder you taking it anywhere. Like, bringing the GC Quad is not something that you just shove in the pocket of a golf bag. This you technically can. It comes in a nice little nylon case that you zip it up, and it would fit in there. But basically, the Mevo Plus, the Mevo, they'd all, the Mevo and Mevo Plus both will give you, carry distance, club head speed, smash factor, apex height, so the height of the shot, the flight time, the ball speed, the spin rate, and the vertical launch angle. And then the Mevo Plus, you add horizontal launch angle, lateral landing, angle of attack, total distance, roll distance, which those two are numbers that I could care less about. They're basically just guesstimating how far the ball's going to roll. The spin axis, the spin loft, and the shot shape. So it adds those things the Mevo Plus does, and I think it does a really good job. I think the spin number. So taking it out, it's super easy to set up. You download the app. You basically, I put it on my iPad and my phone. My iPad's actually older, so it uses an older version of the app. And then my phone, I have it on as well. And taking it out, super easy to set up. It's got its own little built-in stand, which is actually aluminum, which is kind of nice. It's kind of a nice feature, because when you're spending $2,000 to see something that's not just cheap plastic, it's aluminum, and then the outside of this thing is all rubber, so it pretty much stays in place wherever you set it. But you basically just pop it open, set it down, and turn it on. And then you go into the little app, and you hit connect, and you connect, and it's really simple. It took no time to do, and all you had to do is create your account on Flightscope, and boom, you were done. So in there, it's a pretty cool little app. It's got kind of all the features of some of the big monitors. I've messed with TrackMan. I haven't really messed with GC Quad much. I've seen it. I've hit a few balls on it, but I haven't really messed with it in terms of using it. But the interface, I mean, it kind of feels like a pretty expensive unit. It's got down the line views. It's got kind of 3/4 angle views. It's got side views of all your shots. You can set it up for the app. You can have it all tiles, little squares that have, ball speed, smash factor, whatever. You can have all that. You can have a combination of just a couple of the items on the bottom and then the shot shape. But there's a lot of different views for the app, which are pretty nice, that you can kind of customize and look at. And then in terms of accuracy, I think the carry distances, the ball flights, all those things I think are really, really accurate. It's a Doppler radar system, so it tracks the ball from when it leaves to when it hits the ground. So there's no cameras to basically give you club head data, really. It does say that it gives you angle of attack. I think angle of attack is a little over a little strong. We actually had the pro from Bella Vista out there in the range because he knew I had this and he wanted to come see it. So he was hitting some shots, and he's a super efficient swinger of the golf club. Hits the center of the face basically every time. He doesn't swing it super hard. He's like 101 mile an hour, 102 mile an hour swing, something like that. But he doesn't miss the center, and he hits up on the ball really well. And it still was reading his angle of attack as like +8, and I'm like, he was hitting up on it, but I don't know, +8. I mean, that's pretty aggressive. But I think he even had some in the 10s and 11s, and I think even he said on other launch monitors he's never seen it that high. He said I think he's right around. He said between 4 and 6 is his typical range, so it's a little higher there. We noticed carry distances I thought were extremely accurate. We were hitting basically drivers and irons on it, and then I didn't really hit any wedge. We haven't really hit a ton of wedge shots or anything with it yet, but we hit a lot of drivers, a lot of iron shots, and iron shots, I think pretty much everything is pretty darn accurate. The driver, the only thing that I thought was a little off is spin. The spin rate seemed a little high. Like I said, the pro out there, when he was hitting up on the ball, and as efficient as he was, I mean, I don't think his smash factor ever left like 147 at the worst. But it gave him a lot of spin rates in like the threes, the kind of the mid threes, like 3,300 or whatever, and it just didn't seem like the ball had that much spin. And he even said, other launch monitors that he's hit on, he's really usually around kind of the mid to low twos. And me hitting it again, I thought, I never got spin too much below 3,000. So I think driver spin is slightly off. It's a little high on this unit, but I think the carry numbers, the shot shapes, all that are pretty darn accurate. When it basically shows you the spin axis of where the ball goes. I mean, everything else seemed really, really accurate. It was super fast. I mean, as soon as you hit the ball, as it started going, it was starting to show you the shot. I mean, there was no real delay in it, which I've heard from SkyTrack, which is probably the biggest competitor to this one. There's like a big delay as you hit the shot, and it waits and calculates, and then it gives you the data. This thing's pretty much instant. Like I said, the spin number's a little off, but the rest of it I thought was really good. I mean, I thought the showing the shot shape, showing where it is. I mean, it was pretty much what you were seeing on the range was pretty much what you were seeing, on the screen. Like I said, carry numbers were pretty much spot on. Everything that I usually hit was right there. Like I said, we were hitting basically, mostly drivers and all that. My dad, he was hitting some balls on it. Figured he was hitting a little low, so we basically cranked his driver up a little bit. And it was interesting. We basically, he has a sim, last year's sim, which was mine, but he has last year's sim max, and he is a 10.5 head. We were playing it like at 11, and then he was hitting balls, and his launch angle was kind of right around like 11, so he cranked it up a little bit, and he doesn't mind a closed face because he wants to take that slice out of play, and noticed that he was actually substantially hitting it farther. Like it was something around like 8 yards or so. On average, and he was hitting it farther than the previous setting, and it was pretty cool to use it like that. But I think it's a great tool to have. Like I said, I haven't done the net setting yet with the metallic numbers or metallic dots on the ball. I'm going to do that shortly. Maybe, hopefully today or tomorrow, something like that. We'll see. But I definitely want to get out and try it there. But I think if you're looking for something, to go to the range with, to basically, compare clubs a little bit, all that. I know I did a post on Instagram asking if, like this would be something that you would respect the numbers from, and most people said yes. And I think it's definitely legit. I think it's, if you take clubs out there, it's apples to apples to be able to hit the balls next to each other, but to get basically a lot of the a little bit of club data, but a lot of the ball data that you don't get with some other units. I think it's worth the upgrade money if it's in your budget. Like I said, the pro at Bella Vista said he was pretty impressed with what it did for $2,000. Like I said, knowing the spin was slightly off and all that. Again, if you think GC Quad is kind of the or TrackMan or kind of the bar. This thing is a fraction of the price compared to it. It's a tenth of the price. So. Having a couple numbers off, I don't think is a horrible thing. The other thing that I didn't love about it, I gotta try, we gotta see, but so far the battery life is not amazing. The range sessions that I've had haven't been crazy long or anything, and they've been like half the battery. So those type of things are pretty interesting. You know, I haven't gone like full blown hour and a half range session type thing or anything like that, like go through the whole bag and you know, gap everything or whatever. So I don't know if it's gonna last for that whole thing, but we'll see. Like I said, right now the spin number's not amazingly accurate. I don't think, at least with driver. With irons, it seemed to be very accurate. You know, hitting 7 irons and 6 irons and things like that. It seems to be pretty darn close. And you know, on the range we were hitting, it was outdoors. We're not using dots or anything like that. That seemed to be pretty close. Like I said, driver just seemed to be a little bit high. And also the you know, angle of attack, even with the irons, it seemed a little off. You know, like I get really steep, I hit down on the ball, and it never really showed anything crazy deep. And I know I've seen some numbers on, you know, hitting off TrackMan and all that I've gotten down to the, you know, whether it's 4s or 5s, like I can get down on it pretty good, and I never saw anything close to that. Everything was a little closer to neutral, maybe down a little bit. So I think it might be slightly off at just a couple degrees, but nothing crazy. And I think if you know, kind of have an idea of where you're at, and then you see this, you'll just kind of know, you know, oh, it's, you know, I'm slightly off here, but you know, if I'm in this range, I'm good. But overall, like I said, super simple setup, really easy to use. You get a good amount of data. And I'd say it's pretty darn accurate. Like I said, I mean, it's, you know, like I said, GC quad, I think is kind of the TrackMan to the standard. It's going to be slightly off from that, but also it's $2,000, not $20,000. And, you know, if you look at something like GC quad with club data, you know, in terms of, you know, angle of attack and things like that, that has cameras. This has a camera basically just to align stuff. And I think, you know, it doesn't have, it's not like the camera is really used for, it doesn't not used for like club data or anything like that. So, but no, it's a pretty cool unit. I've liked it so far. Like I said, I'm going to hit it indoors into the net or outdoors into a net, see how it works there. And then, but like I said, outdoors, I'm pretty impressed. I want to take it out again and see if it'll last the whole time doing kind of that gapping thing, go through the whole bag, you know, driver through wedge, and just see where, you know, how long it lasts, what it gives me, all that. It'll be pretty cool to do. But the Mevo Plus so far outdoors, I've liked it. I think it's worth the $2,000 so far. And like I said, I think it's something that, you know, when I get to go into the range more, which I don't do a whole lot of right now, I think it'll be something that that I use a good amount. So yeah, like I said, that's my initial review of it. And you know, like I said, if you're somebody looking like, hey, I'm going to spend my $2,000, I want something as accurate as, you know, the big boys, I think you're going to have to wait a few years before that. But I think it's coming. I think we're going to get there sooner than later. That's for sure. I think within 5 years, I think you're going to see something like, you know, a Flightscope Mevo Plus price range, you know, the $2,000, that you're going to get, you know, pretty close accurate data to those big boys on a repeated basis. So yeah, but it's a fun unit. It was good to hit. I enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm gonna use it some more as well. So yeah, the last thing I'm gonna talk about is I guess a slight update. I guess I've already talked about it before, but I know I had a TSI 3 wood, and I've been on the 3 wood hunt, it seems, for the past this whole year so far, and I just I haven't found anything that I've truly loved yet. But the TSI 3 is coming close. When I got it from my old good buddy Johnny Wonder, it had a Ventus Blue 7X that I hit pretty good. When I hit it good, it went, but it launched a little low, and it was a little flatter flying, especially off the turf. Off the tee, it was fine. You could really just, you know, hit these bullets. But off the turf, I struggled a little bit with it, and I don't hit a super high ball with you know, with fairway woods or anything like that. So I switched it over to a Ventus Red. And I tell you what, so right now it's kind of the leader in the clubhouse between this and a Sim 2 Max with a Diamante D Plus 70 in it. So, but this thing here, I switched over to Ventus Red. I've played like 2 rounds with it so far, and it's really good. The Ventus Red just kind of launches the ball just a little bit higher, helps get it up in the air. Off the tee, it doesn't really penalize me much. I mean, the flight is higher. The Ventus Blue in it was probably a little bit longer, but not by much. But hitting it off the turf is hugely different. It's much more consistent. It's much more repeatable, and there's actually a chance, if you're going for a par 3 or par 5 and 2, that you could actually get the ball to somewhat stop on the green, because that Ventus Blue, unless you're playing it like you know, like the Open Championship and hitting it 30 yards in front of the green and rolling it on, there was no way that ball was stopping on the green for me. But the TSI 3 has been really good. It's super neutral bias. I haven't moved the weight to the toe. It's still in the neutral setting. And the thing just goes straight. Like, there's not a whole lot of draw to it. I mean, I hit a draw on my own, but there's not a ton of draw to it. The face is deep enough where hitting it off the tee is super easy. You can be super confident in it, but it's not so deep where you're going to worry or struggle about hitting it off the turf. The sound is, kind of an old classic stainless steel sound. It's got that ting to it, and the ball just jumps off the face. Is definitely, as long as kind of anything else out there. But the forgiveness of it is actually better than I thought. I've hit a few shots that are nowhere near the center of the face, and they've stayed online fairly well. Will I call it was it as forgiving as, say, a G425 Max 3 would? No, it's definitely not that stable. But for the classic shape, the great look of it, all that, I think it's more forgiving than I expected it to be. Much like the driver, I think the TSI 3 driver is in the same kind of boat. It's a much more forgiving club than it looks to be or should be in your mind. But the TSI so far, the Ventus Red has been really good. Like I said, really easy to get up in the air, but not like super. I mean, it's not like, like I said, like the 425 Max went straight in the air, fell down. This is still penetrating. It's still there. It's just a little easier to get off the turf, up in the air, and get going. And the rollout isn't near as much. So overall, I've been really impressed. I've really liked that combo. I've hit it the past like couple rounds, and so far I've really liked it. And it's interesting because the Ventus Blue, as much as I really do like the Ventus Blue, for me, I can definitely tell it's definitely softer in the handle section. And the red is very stiff in the handle section, and for me, the feel of the shafts are just wildly different. And it's in the swing, to me, I prefer the red. Like, I just like the feel of that shaft. So far it's been a great combo. I'm gonna keep kind of tinkering and trying some other stuff as well. I know a lot of people have said you got to take the Mizuno out, and I forgot to grab it from the office yesterday when I was in the office. So I will definitely get the Mizuno out as well and try that one, because I know a lot of guys were DMing me about that and saying, they've been finding a lot of success with it. So I'm gonna try it. I had other stuff in my hands, and I just forgot to grab it on the way out yesterday. So we'll do that. But TSI 3 has been really good. It's technically the starter at the moment, but we'll see if that lasts through the end of the year. I don't know. But anyway, that's all I got this week. Hopefully you guys have another great week. Weekend, at least up here in Detroit, it's supposed to be super hot, super nice. Hopefully it's nice where you guys are. And get out there, play some golf, try some clubs. And if you want to ask any questions, have any comments, anything like that, hit me up at Club Junkie Pod on Instagram. That's the best one. It's also on Twitter, but I don't really use Twitter. But hit me up on Instagram. I'll probably be doing my little Q&A session today as well. So look for that in my stories. And yeah, we'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.